Welcome to the Rewards Master Live. This is our fifth live stream, and just appreciate everybody tuning in. Today, I have a number of things on the agenda that I hope to discuss. And as people come in, hopefully, we'll have some back and forth comments, discussions, questions, and answers. Some of the things I'm going to talk about as we go through are things like Aeroplan in Alaska and their stopover programs. That's something I haven't utilized as of yet, but intend to in the near future. And if anybody is in the chat that has any experience with that, I think that would be very good and helpful, at least for me. The second thing, and this will be kind of one of the main events of this live stream, is discussing lounges and a different way of looking at lounges. I hear a lot of pushing, and I've done it even on my channel in the credit card space about lounge access with different programs, and particularly with the different transferable currency type of cards, things like the American Express Platinum and Venture X and things of that nature. And I've kind of been rethinking that along several lines, and I thought it would be a good thing for us to discuss and maybe just consider that there might be a different option available. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is premium economy. Premium economy is something that I very much haven't used a lot of. We've flown it once, but I have been found lately that in situations where I can't kind of follow the two cardinal rules of my channel, which are if you want to get crazy outsized value, you need to be very flexible in when you fly and the destination where you fly. So you've got to be open to where you want to go, and you've got to be open to what time you can go there. And I think those are still kind of the cardinal rules of being able to get great outsized value. However, I have found that when I can't do that, then I'm very limited, and it's really hard to find a good deal. But premium economy can sometimes fill that void. So hopefully we'll be able to discuss that a little bit. I'm also going to talk about, should points scarcity factor into spending choices? And what I mean by that is some points are easy to earn and some points are very, very difficult to earn. I'm thinking things like American Express points, really easy to earn with sign-up bonuses and things. Chase points, same way. But some currencies like American Airlines and Alaska and some of the foreign airlines that might have great redemptions are very difficult to earn. So how should scarcity of points, in other words, how difficult they are to get, how should that factor into a person's strategy in regard to what cards they spend on and how they set up their wallet? So we're going to discuss that. We'll discuss about how to recommend to friends. I think all of us who are heavy into this game, we have the same problem that we oftentimes have friends and family who are asking us for advice. I recently had somebody ask me, well, should I get this 250,000 point bonus for American Express Platinum card? But I've had that card, and I know that it took a whole lot of effort on my part to be able to get all my money back with the credits and things. And I don't think they would be the kind of person to do that. So it's like, I didn't know exactly how to approach answering them in that regard. So that's certainly a part of it. And then the other thing I wanted to discuss is Citi and their new premium travel card that they say is coming out. And the reason this one really matters to me is I have the Citi Prestige card. I love the Citi Prestige card. And are they going to bring back the Citi Prestige, or are they going to bring back something else and change the Citi Prestige? And my big fear is they're going to make people like me have to get that new card or transfer them, change them to that new card if it's not as good. So that's one thing we'll discuss. And then the other kind of main event thing I was going to talk about is cards with annual fees. I have lots of cards. I have so many annual fees, and I've been able to offset that, as a lot of people in the travel hobby do, with credits and, free night certificates and all of that kind of thing. So that's really good. But I'm still considering, do I keep these or do I not? Because after having them for several years, I'm starting to realize which ones are kind of easy to get good value and which ones aren't. So I'll go through some of those and we can have some discussion in that regard. There's 3 in here in the chat so far. Urisbu I guess that's how you say that. Yuri Spoo says, "Good afternoon, Professor." Well, hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in my I'm in my professor clothes today, so good to have you on. I appreciate it very, very much. Now we have 5 on here now, so the rest of you, if you want to, put in a little comment so I know you're here and welcome you to the live stream. So. All right, let's dive in and start discussing a little bit. And I think the first one I want to talk about is scarcity factor. Tampa Travel says Georgia. I guess that's what you're meaning by that, GA. So good to have you here from Georgia. We're going to be considering um, the different types of points and scarcity. So what's really made me think about this lately is I I have I'm really invested in like the American Airlines ecosystem and also in Alaska because I find the very of my top programs. And I recently did a video about a month ago about which points programs I think I get the most value from. And American and Alaska are just worlds above everything else. And what I mean by that is I pretty much, because of my style of travel, if it's going to be cheap and I don't get good point redemption, I just pay cash for it. So I save my points for big time redemption. So my floor is about 3 or 3.5 is what I'm looking for. So all of the different transferable currencies, Citi, Capital One, Bilt, Chase, American Express, to me, they all have a floor of 3 or 3.5, uh, points per dollar that I'm going to get, or at least value wise, cents per point. So when it comes to those, that's kind of the floor. But on American Airlines and on Alaska, I get far more than that. I mean, on American, it's well over 6 cents per point because if you haven't ever used them for last minute travel, it's crazy good. And then getting Qatar Q suites, we got one for 42,000 points. I mean, it's just nuts. But here's the problem. When this current perfect storm of being able to transfer American Express points over to Hawaiian and then over to Alaska, which I've been doing a lot of. When that's over, and it's going to be over, it's going to be over pretty soon. When that's over, then those will be two of the hardest currencies to earn. Now, you can use the Bilt card to get Alaska points, but I'm a homeowner, so I don't really have a lot of use for the Bilt card most of the time. So my question is this, is there ever a time where you give up a higher multiplier on a lower value point currency to get a lower multiplier to get more valuable points? And that's kind of what I'm trying to weigh a little bit, because I mean, if an American airline point is worth 6 cents per point or 7 cents per point, but I could get 2x on a Venture X, well, is the 1x on American as good as the 2x on a Venture? If you're a person, now I understand it wouldn't be if you're a person who's like using the travel portals at 1 cent per point, or even if you're using the Chase travel portal at like 1.5 cents per point. That's a different type of travel. That's a different strategy altogether. But if you're using them for outsized value, does it make sense to shift spending to a scarcer point system? One that you really have to work hard to get those points because you can't just rack up sign up bonuses and then transfer them over. So that's kind of my question, and I'm curious what some of you think. Tampa Travel says, "Good afternoon. Have a AA business card." Yeah, that's a good card. I haven't ever had their business card. I've never had a business card with Citi. I don't know how difficult it is to get those. I have an ink card, and then I have business cards with American Express. But the one I have with AA is the executive card that gives you access to their lounges and things. And I really like that card. I mean, you do get back some credits, about $240 a year between Avis, which I don't rent many cars, but I do once or twice. And so I get that 120 back, and then I get the $10 a month with Grubhub. But that card, for the price and for the getting the extra loyalty points, being able to get 10x on hotels. I've talked about that in the last live stream, that I've been using that strategy. That card's been outstanding. But yeah, the business card, that's a good one. I used to have the platinum card, which is kind of the personal version of that business card, which was for a airline card, the multipliers were pretty good. Uh, Tampa Travel also says stack 2x gas and Shell fuel rewards, 1x, 3x gas to American airline points ain't bad. I also pay for internet at 2x. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that if you use American points to their maximum potential, I think getting 2x is that's like as good as getting 4x on some other cards, at least the way that my maths out. So yeah, Tampa Travel, I think that's not a bad strategy whatsoever. If you're using them for maximum value, if you're not just cashing them in for whatever domestic route that you want to fly, even though American does have pretty good point redemptions for domestic routes too. Pack Rat says, I live in Alaska focus city and an Alaska focus city, and am contemplating getting the AA executive card to get access to Alaska lounges mostly and admirals clubs when I fly through those airports as well. Yeah, everybody dogs on the American Airlines clubs, the admirals clubs, and I have a Delta Reserve, so I can get into Delta Sky clubs. I had the United Club card for years, so I know United clubs very, very well. And now for several years, I've had the American card. And I do agree that Delta Sky Clubs are better, and I haven't really been in Alaska, so you can tell me, Pack Rat, excuse me, if they're very good or not. But I can get access to them because I have that AA card. But I will say that American has been upping. My wife and I were just talking the other day about lounges and things, and we said, what was the best meal we've had? And the best meal that we've had, now we really like seafood, and they had this shrimp taco thing one time in the American Admirals Club in the Phoenix airport when we were just on a 2 or 3 hour layover. And I think that's the best meal. And I'm including like the Turkish lounge and some of those. So they're really stepping up their game. So I don't think that's a bad plan. If you fly out Alaska, that card's very useful to get into those Alaska lounges. And then it opens up the 50 different Admirals Club lounges to you as well. Mike says, good afternoon. Mike is a channel member. Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Good to have you back here. Matt Clausen, United Club card went up to $6.95. I had not seen that. Wow, that is a big, big jump. And the problem with the club card, and correct me, Matt, if they might have changed some stuff, but the club card had the least ways to get your money back that I could see. I've had it before. I have a good friend that has the old presidential card, and I keep telling him that one's awful. I mean, it does have, you can earn like unlimited points towards your status, I think, but the earnings on it are not even as good as the club. But the club card, the problem with it is that there just aren't, like on American Airlines card, you can get like that Grubhub credit, and you can get the Avis credit. You can get some credits back. And with Delta's reserve card, wow, you can get a lot with Delta Stays and with the Resi credit, and then with the free companion pass. I mean, you can get your money back, but it's really, in my experience, it's hard to do with the United Club card. Mike Newland says, I product changed my American Airlines card for the custom cash to get 5X plus the 3X at Shell gas stations. Yeah. That's a program American has with Shell. I do that when I'm around a Shell, but all the Shells in my area have been bought and transferred to like Exxons and stuff. But yeah, Shell, you can put in your phone number and you can get extra American miles with that. And then the City Custom Cash, everybody loves that card. I have 2 of them. I love those cards. Matt says Club Business also went up to $6.95, but they both added coupons. Okay, good. About $800, he says in question mark. Is that the amount of coupons? Is that what you're meaning by that? So that to me, that's the question is, do you spend more on a card where you're going to get less points, but they're more valuable points to you? That's what I'm having to debate and to figure out. So, okay. So about $800 in credits, they said. So I'm going to check that out as soon as we're done with this live stream, because I did not know. They must have just made that change. So, all right. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. You're the guy who knows. All right. The second thing I was going to discuss is what everybody does in the space when you're recommending cards to people who see you as the expert and they're excited about all of the benefits you get. I mean, last year I think we took enough international trips and things that I figured it up. If we would have paid for it, it would have been between $40,000 and $50,000 that we got through credit card points and rewards. And so when friends and family, when they see that, they're very excited. So they wanted you to help them get on board with that, right? And I get that all the time. And I just had a extended family member who saw they own a business. They saw the American Express Business Platinum card offer 250,000, and they're like, "Should I get this? Should I get this?" And my initial thought is, "Well, absolutely. I mean, they could make the spend easy with their business." But I know them and I love them. They're family. They mean everything to me. But they do say to me all the time, "Well, you're crazy to go through all the trouble that you go to and to track all of that and all of that stuff." And I know that the cards they do have, they typically will let credits expire and not pay close attention to it. So what it's going to end up being is they're going to pay $695 a year for that card and probably use the points in the portal at 1 cent a piece. So but to try to explain that to people, because you don't want to be critical. I mean, there's not a wrong way to do things. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe you'd be better off with a $95 a year card or, a no annual fee card just because of the way that they travel. So I'm curious how some of you uh, deal with that when you are asked advice on things, but you know people. So you know that they're probably not going to go through the hoops or go through the effort, do the planning and the tracking to be able to get maximum value. Brandon Pyrrhus. Brandon, good to have you on board here today. Do you remember your data points when you started to get into City to get the custom caches? Looking to get into that ecosystem after being heavy into Chase the past few years on the personal business side. Data points as far as, well, for me, I did apply for one and got it and got the, I don't know, 15 or 20,000 point bonus, but I wanted it because I was going to use it as my dedicated cash card because I don't need it for dining because I have the old City Prestige. It gives me 5x City points. But what I have done is I have one. My Player 2 product changed an American Airlines card over to one. Because if you don't know this about City, City allows you to product change pretty much any card to any other card, even in different families. So we did that. So that's how we have two of them, and we use them for our gas, and then we use them for home improvement because those are the two categories that we can get 5% that we can't get anywhere else. But what I really like, and it takes a long-term strategy because you can't just apply for them all at once. But we have the Rewards Plus card, and I just heard on Frequent Miler that there's a rumor that that one's going away. And I like the Rewards Plus card because up to 100,000 points, you can get 10% back when you transfer to partners. So that really makes your earnings a little bit better, 10% better. So I kind of figured that I'm now getting 5.5 on my City Prestige on dining and also on my custom cash on gas. So that's kind of what I remember. They won't let you apply for two custom caches. You can apply for one, get it, and then you have to product change or use Player 2 or something like that. So Brandon, I hope that's helpful to you. Spathco says, don't forget to click the like, y'all. Yeah, we have 11 in here right now, only 3 likes. So if y'all would hit the like button, that'd help me to hopefully get more people watching. So appreciate that and appreciate you, Spathco, for saying that. Okay, now we get to kind of one of my main events I wanted to get to for today, and that is talking about lounges. And one of the things that I have found interesting, because I've had all the cards that give all the big lounge access that everybody talks about all the time. Everybody says American Express Platinum card is the king of lounge cards. And yeah, it does give more access to more lounges for one person, but more access to more lounges than any other card, hands down. Because if you're flying Delta, you get Delta Sky Clubs, you get Escape Lounges, you get, of course, into Centurion Lounges, and they have 20 something of them in the United States. And you also get a Priority Pass membership with the 1,300 or so lounges around the world. That is just awesome. And then, of course, you got things like Chase, and they have their few Chase Sapphire lounges now. And you also get Priority Pass. Capital One, Venture X, it gives you the Capital One lounges, which are my favorite domestic lounges. I even like them better than the Centurion lounges. And it also gives you Priority Pass. So all of those are, yeah, I mean, I agree, they're great, but I kind of want to talk about a practical approach to it because I went to a lot of lounges last year. So I did a video, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and I talked about the fact that my spouse and we went in to 102 lounges last year when we were traveling. Now, I travel more than a lot of people because I travel, but I'm not like a road warrior where I'm gone every single week. But I, probably flew 16, 18 times last year. And we did some international trips where we stopped at different places. So we went to quite a few lounges that way. And the reason I was able to rack up so many is I went on departure and I went to the lounge on my layover and I went to the lounge when I arrived sometimes. So it came out to, and I counted 16 Hilton lounges. So I took those out, and that's still 86 lounges that and I counted each of us as one visit. So sometimes she was by herself, sometimes I was by myself, sometimes we were together. So if we were together, I counted it as two. But still, 86 airport lounges. But here's what I found, okay? And this is kind of what's made me think along these lines. I went to 4 Centurion lounges out of 86. Now, I had the business platinum, had full access to it. But sometimes I didn't go to it because she was with me and I didn't want to pay for her to get in when we could go to a different lounge for free, both of us. So that only went to 4 out of 86. I went to 4 escape lounges. Now that's kind of Priority Pass. So that was kind of unique situations. I went to, let's see, Capital One. I went 6 times. So between the two of us, and we both have access to Capital One individually, and we went to the Capital One lounge 6 times. So between this, and I didn't go to any of the Sapphire lounges, but between Centurion and Capital One, which we both have access to, we went a total of 10 times out of 86. So like just a little bit better than 10% of the time. But I'll tell you what we did go to. 25 visits to Delta Sky Clubs and 25 visits to American Airlines Admirals Clubs. Now, that is the reason that I think this is something I'm rethinking is that, I mean, for a person who actually uses lounges, and I think everybody would agree 86 visits is a good use of lounges. Here's the problem. If you go to most airports, there is one Centurion lounge. And if you have a somewhat tight connection, if you don't have like 3 hours of layover, you probably don't want to switch terminals and walk a million miles to get to a lounge because they have one. But here's the deal. I looked it up. Atlanta has 9 Delta lounges. DFW has 5 AA lounges. Houston has 5 United lounges. Chicago, which we often call a lounge desert, has 3 American Airlines lounges, 4 United lounges, and 1 Delta lounge. The JFK, which has every kind of lounge in the world, but it does have 2 Delta lounges and 1 American Airlines lounge and also an Alaska lounge, which you can get into if you have access to American lounges. LAX, another kind of lounge desert. I don't think they have Priority Pass there. 3 American Airlines with 1 Alaska, so 4 total. 1 United, 1 Delta. San Francisco, 1 Delta, 3 United, 1 American Airlines. My point is this, is that what good is it to have lounge access if you're going to use it twice a year? I mean, when I figured this out, that 86 airline lounge visit or lounge visit benefit that I had last year, if that was worth $25 each, now the lounges say they're worth more than that. But if it was only worth $25 each, we got back $2,150 last year just from those lounges. But if we had just had access to those bank specific lounges and not the airline lounges, then a lot of our layovers were too quick. But there's you can almost always, if you're flying through a hub airport for American or Delta or United, you can almost always get off the plane, look both directions, and see a lounge. That's one of their lounges. And so I guess what I'm trying to point out here is that we all tout those cards that give the great lounge access, but how great is it if you don't actually use it? Or if you only use it once a year or twice a year? When if you had an airline lounge card, you can use it, almost for sure on the layover, even if you've got a 50-minute layover. So you're going to use it way more frequently. Now, somebody who's flying once a year or twice a year, or maybe even 3 or 4 times a year, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you just plan out your trip where you have a longer layover and you take your time and go over that lounge. But for people who fly quite a bit, I mean, I just don't think those lounges can replace the convenience and the frequency and the ability to get there quick and get in, get free food, drink, and get out. Um, I don't know. I'd be curious what some of you think about all this. Okay. Spathco says, don't forget to click like all. Yeah, we already said that. Don't be. Yeah, we got 4 likes now. That's one more. So everybody hit the like button. Appreciate that. Location matters so much for lounges. I have to change terminals. The lounge might as well not exist. That's exactly my point. And if you're flying domestically within the States, especially if you're not flying hub to hub, oftentimes that you have to switch terminals and it can take a while to get over there. And then you're more stressed about getting back towards your gate. Whereas a lot of times, if you're in one of these airline specific lounges, your gate is a 5-minute walk or less. It's just very low stress. Okay. Packrat says, imagine flying out of Terminal 7 at LAX and having to walk 40 plus minutes round trip to walk to the international terminal and back to access Centurion. Yeah. And I mean, that's bad, but sometimes the priority pass are even worse because sometimes those are like the Turkish lounge. I think that's the one in Washington or one of the ones that's, with priority pass. And you gotta switch terminals big time over to the international terminal to get there. And you might end up getting there and then they're not letting priority pass in. And this, that, or the other. That's the other thing about the airline specific lounges. I have never, now I have it at Delta Club, but as far as at an American or United Club, I don't remember ever being turned away or having to wait in a line. I just go in, and what a benefit that is. So it's kind of interesting that all the cards that aren't specific to the airlines get all the love as far as better lounges. But what if something's better? I mean, if you had an awesome car, but you couldn't drive it. I mean, I've had friends who had very fancy exotic cars and they broke down all the time and they never got to drive their car. I mean, if I had a broken down Lamborghini all the time, I think I'd rather just have a Corvette that I could drive, and that's kind of the deal about these lounges is it really better if I can't really find a way to use it? Matt says, I'd love more airline lounge access on the bank cards, but it varies. Also, card access doesn't matter flying first and international business. That's true. Now, in that list last year, let me see. Yeah, we went into 8 business class lounges because we had business class tickets. So those are, and that's the deal, is that if you fly overseas in business class, then you don't need priority pass over there. So what I'm getting at here is that if you use your points like we do and fly business and first class overseas, and you just fly, domestically in economy, then you really only need the lounge access card for within the United States. And in the United States, I mean, the priority pass just is a weak network anyway. You don't need it when you're flying in business class. You need it in way better lounges anyhow, just because your business class ticket. And are the airline specific cards not more practical and just going to give you a lot more value because you're just going to use the lounges a lot more? Okay. Yurisbu says, location and capacity of the lounge is a factor. If your wait time to get in is 30 minutes plus, it's a factor. That's exactly right. And that's why, I think the Delta lounges, the reason they have the problem they do is they allow American Express Platinum members in. And the other cards don't really do that. I mean, and on American, you have to have an American card to get in there. United, same kind of thing. And that's what causes the overcrowding. So yeah, if you have to switch terminals, walk 40 minutes round trip, then you have to wait 30 or 40 or 50 minutes to get in, then is that really better than just having a lounge that's airline specific because of your United Club card or your American Admirals card, and it's just a 3-minute walk from your gate and 5 minutes to your next gate? I mean, because there's six of them in the airport. I mean, that to me, that I don't know. Nobody's really talking about this that I see in the space, but to me, just from my own personal experience, that's what I'm starting to see. Okay, Sarab Rook says, "Big fan. You are a goat." Well, thank you. I don't think I've been called that before, so that's very nice. There's two ways to take goat, though, right? Greatest of all time or a goat. So I'll take it in the best way possible. I appreciate it. All right, we got 7 likes. We got 12 people in here today. So if you'd hit the like button, appreciate it very, very much. All right, moving on. Next thing on my list I wanted to discuss is something that I haven't really faced before, but I'm starting to we're kind of picking up our traveling. It's starting to be a problem. So usually, I mean, on this channel, my particular travel style is about getting maximum value. And if you're not getting good point redemption price, then pay cash. So that's what I do. But sometimes that's hard because I just found out I have a work thing I forgot about. And I'd already had a trip planned, had great redemption to get there and all that. And when I was planning to come home, I was like, oh man, I can't, I've got to get back in a certain window that I didn't expect. So I was limited on where I had to fly, and I was limited on what day I had to fly. And as I've mentioned before, kind of the cardinal rules of getting great value for me is having the flexibility of where you go and the flexibility of when you go. Because if you can get those two flexibilities going, then you're going to get great point redemption value because you can pick and choose the best of the best deals. Well, there are times that's not possible. And I'm running into that really for the first time now. And so I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm looking, and the point prices on business class coming home is like 300,000 points, like a Delta redemption type thing. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. That's just a waste of my points. So my options were to do that or fly economy. And I've kind of spoiled that little lady, and she don't like to fly economy overseas anymore. So it was like, what do we do? Well, I didn't even think at first, but then I started looking at premium economy products. And I found something that was very encouraging. And that is that sometimes premium economy is reasonably priced, even if you're limited when you can go and where you can go. And, we've flown it once. We flew in United. It was an upgrade deal. I used my plus points or whatever they call those. And back when I was a status flyer with United, and we upgraded to premium economy going over to Portugal. And it was a comfortable experience. I mean, it wasn't as good as lay down first class or business class, but it was comfortable. I mean, we got to, a big plush recliner type seats. Basically, to me, it's just exactly like domestic first class that, those of us who are status flyers have all been upgraded to, and we know what that's like, except you have a little footrest and they give you an amenity kit and maybe the food's a little bit better. But overall, it's still a comfortable way to travel and sometimes very reasonable. In fact, I got these, and remember, I had to be at a certain place and I had to have on a certain date. But I found Air France, and I think they were 35,000 points each for premium economy back to the US. And I was just like jumping for joy because it was looking like economy in the back of the plane before that. So I was curious if anybody has had to resort to premium economy for those reasons. And I just wanted to let everybody know and encourage you that if you're in a situation where you're stuck when you have to travel and where you got to go, don't be afraid to look and expand your search to those premium economy products because it's certainly better than the back. It's not the best there is, but it's certainly better than the back. And the points prices they're pretty reasonable. I mean, sometimes what you'd pay for a domestic flight in the US if it's not like a saver award. So I think that's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, we got 12 in here now. 7 likes. So please like if you haven't done that so far. All right. The next thing, the city's new elite card or whatever they're going to call it, their premium travel card. They keep saying they're going to come up with that, but who knows if it'll be this year or next year or the next year. I mean, city, their timetable is unpredictable. Matt might know more about that. He knows a lot about those things, but I, I'm I'm kind of nervous about it because I have the City Prestige card, and I cherish the City Prestige card. In fact, it to me it is the best top level travel card there is. I'll take it over the Venture X. I'd take it over, of course, the Chase Reserve card. I'd take it over the American Express Platinum because it gives priority pass. That's the only lounge access, but it gives priority pass restaurants, and I still love that. It gives you back a $250 easy to use travel credit, kind of like the Chase travel credit, and then it gives you two fourth night free benefits if you book through Chase Travel. And I've used that every year, and I get crazy good value from that. Just one of those pays for my annual fee because we had it in Athens last year. We had this great boutique hotel. I booked their really nice suite, and it had like a rooftop, and we could see the Parthenon and all that from the very top. It was awesome. And that free night that it gave me there paid for the annual fee or more. Plus I get all the other stuff and 5x on airline flights and then 5x on dining. So that card was great. So I love it. They haven't given any indication that I can't keep it, which I'm excited about. But what I'm really afraid of is that either City will come out with a card that's not as good because there had to be a reason they got rid of it because maybe it was too good. And then they're going to make me product change over to it or just automatically change me to it. City is pretty good about keeping all their old cards going forever. So maybe not, but I'm curious if anybody has got any ideas or thoughts about that new City card. But that one really, really makes me nervous what they're going to do to change when they bring that up. But I can tell you, if they bring back a clone of the old City Prestige, it has been the best card in my wallet, and I've amassed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of City points just by my regular dining spend and buying airline tickets with it at 5x on both of those, and especially with the City Rewards Plus card with it. It is a super duo. I mean, able to get so many points. So um, if anybody has any info or anything about, or just kind of your speculations about what City's going to do with that, yeah, put that in the stream there. All right, we've got 12 tuning in. We've got 8 likes now. That's great. So let's Matt says City is a top 2 zombie card maintainer. Yeah, they are. Who's the other one? Is it US Bank or is it Bank of America? Maybe one of those two that's really big on keeping all their old cards alive. I'm not sure, but I sure hope they keep the press. Maybe if they change it, they'll just me keep the prestige. I don't know, Matt, if you have any thoughts about that. Let me know. All right, 13 in here, 10 likes. That's great. Thank you for that. All right, the other thing I wanted to mention, talk about a little bit, and I kind of probably wind down with this one, is what do we do with our cards that have high annual fees? I have a lot of annual fees, and I know a lot of us who are heavy into this hobby do. I mean, excess of $3,000-4,000 in annual fees, and I have the big ones on the list are the Delta Reserve, the AA Executive Card, the Hilton Aspire, the City Prestige, the Venture X, the American Express Gold, and the American Express Business Gold. Now, until last month, I had the American Express Business Platinum. I downgraded that to the Business Green, which is a dog of a card. It's not good at all. But I did that to try to lure them to kind of offer me an upgrade offer, which I think they will. If they don't, then I'll end up canceling it. But as far as these cards go, I struggle because I do get my value back. I mean, I figured it out, and not even counting the points that I'm getting, I'm really good at getting all of my credits. I think of all the credits last year, I only missed out on maybe $30 out of all those cards because I keep a spreadsheet and I check it once a week. And, oh, have I got my Grubhub credit? Have I got my, Dunkin' Donuts credit? All that kind of stuff. But there's still a there's still a factor that I have so many cards that earn so good that even though they, at the end of the day, the net fee, they don't cost me anything. Is it worth going through the trouble and going through the hassle? So that's kind of what I want to talk about with each of these in my use case, and maybe it'll be helpful to some of you. Matt says US Bank, 67 rewards pools, all the cards. So they're the ones, US Bank and Citi, they're the ones that allow, like he said it, and he said it best, zombie card maintainer. So they let you keep those old cards. So hopefully they'll let me keep mine. I appreciate it. Thanks. Yurisbu says, I know it's not a history channel, but those who remember, but after Bank's 2008 financial debacle, Citi get out good credit card products they don't want to lock horns with the two big issuers. Okay, so it was a strategy to compete, is what you're saying, and yeah, I'm sure they did, and they stopped that card, and I think it's because it's just really really good. So I think people are going to have that same experience with the Altitude Reserve because that card's really good. I mean, with that mobile wallet thing. So I think they're going to be kind of two holy grail legacy cards that can't be gotten in the future. So Matt also says it's 9 points pool it's 9 points pool still active. You'll likely be encouraged to apply for Strata Elite, but Citi may not care. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because unless the Strata Elite's just a clone and it's the same thing, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I don't care what it says on the card, but yeah, if they make me change to something that's not as good, that wouldn't be what I want at all. Only card they've sunset was the forward. Dividend is still kicking. So yeah, the forward, I've heard about that one. I don't know much about it, but yeah, that's the only Citi card I've ever heard of that they got rid of completely. Spathco says they killed the chairman card, I think. So I'm not familiar with that one, so I can't comment on it. All right, 12 in here, 10 likes. That's good. So appreciate that. When I go through these cards, talk about some of my logic on it and why I wrestle with it, because even though I'm getting value from all of them and I feel justified, some of them don't have the best use case. So the first one is the Delta Reserve card, $650 a year, which is just huge. It gives access, of course, to both Centurion lounges and also to Delta Sky Clubs at 15 a year, 15 days of travel a year. And that's enough for me. So, I mean, I'm not, even though I said we went to 25 last year, if I had to go to 15, I could probably pick and choose when I went to those, and I'm not too worried about it. The reason this one is in my wallet is because I did a status match to get platinum status with them. I'm not going to keep it. I don't care about it because I'm not getting upgrades anymore, either on Delta or American. And I have Platinum Pro with American. I have Platinum with Delta, and I haven't gotten an upgrade to first class in like a year, or maybe almost a year. And I told you I fly quite a bit. So that's really disappointing because I used to be at 50, 60% upgrade rate, and something's changed. I think they're selling first class cheaper, and I think they're allowing pilots to fly up there because of contracts and stuff. So it's making a big difference on my upgrades. So I'm just not going to worry about status with Delta anymore after this year. I am going to keep my AA at the platinum level because that gives you free access to the main cabin extra seats, which are really good. And because I'm a bit tall guy, so I need the extra 4 inches of legroom. So, and it's pretty easy to keep platinum status when you spend on their credit cards and use the portal for hotels and all shopping portal and all that with AA. But the Delta Reserve, I get my money back because we get that companion certificate, and that right there almost pays for the card because, her and I fly a lot, and we get, the tickets are usually a $500 ticket. So that's 500 back right there. I've never had any issue. I know some people report it's hard to book stuff with it, and I've never had any issues. It's just wide open every time I've tried. Maybe it's when we're flying. But the other thing is you get, the Delta Stays credit. That's really gives you quite a bit back. you get the $20 a month Resi credit. I use that every single month. There is a Resi restaurant. It's the only one in our town, and it's 5 minutes from my office, and I love it. I was eating there anyway, so I get the $20 back on that. So those two right there are $440 of it. So it's I'm getting positive value. There's no doubt. And the real reason I like them is in my home airport, the only club is a Delta club. So I'll oftentimes fly out on Delta and fly back on American or something like that, just so I can go and relax in the club and get some free breakfast and stuff before I fly out. So I'm wrestling with it. I think I'll probably keep it, but I'm wrestling with it because it's $650, and I do have to worry with those credits, even though I'm getting more back. Um, Yurisbu says, travel domestic Delta under 1,000-mile flights this month. Saw crew in business and in Comfort Plus. Yeah, all the airlines are doing that now. It was part of their contract negotiations with their pilots, I think, and so they're flying them up there in the front, and that takes seats away from status flyers. I don't know if it'll mean that people don't chase status as much, but it definitely means that for me, because it isn't worth that effort to not get upgraded. And the other stuff you get, like priority boarding and stuff, free bags, you get with a credit card, or you get with low level status. So why pursue the high level status and spend, especially spending? Now I can make a use case, as we already talked about, for spending on an American card, but because their miles are worth so much. But a Delta card, their miles aren't worth enough to do that. You just fly Delta because of your immediate experience and their clubs and stuff like that. So that's my thinking on the Delta card. The second one is the American Airlines Executive Card. I'm going to keep this one. It is expensive. It's $595, but wow, I think it's underrated. I think people don't give it enough credit, because you do get some credits back. It's got this really ridiculous Lyft credit that you got to use Lyft 3 times in a month to get $10 back. I never get that one. But on the Grubhub credit, I get that every month because I just order, I eat lunch every day. So I order a pickup order, and there's lots of restaurants around my office, so I just go and get them. And that's no problem. And then the Avis credit, $120, one-shot credit. That's easy to get back. So I get $240 back on that. But what I really love about it is I love American Airlines points. Like I said, they're my most valuable currency. And you get 10x in their portal with their hotels, and I'm shifting to that. So when work is paying for a hotel for me, when I'm consulting, traveling, whatever, I book it through the AA portal, and I get, like, last month I did that, and I got like 7,800 extra points through the portal, and I got 10x on the card on booking it, and it was reimbursed to me. So it's really a really a good card, I think. Also, it gets 4x on American Airlines purchases, and it gives that 10,000 point loyalty point boost at 50,000 and 90,000 loyalty points. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I'll keep that one because it's just, to me, it's very, very valuable. The third one, and this one, it just almost pains me to talk about this, but one of my favorite credit cards, what I think on paper is the most valuable credit card there is, Hilton Aspire. I've really liked Diamond status. I know everybody says, well, Diamond status, if everybody has status, nobody has status. Yeah, but when you fly to Europe or to Asia or to the Middle East, everybody does not have Hilton Diamond status, because people outside the U.S. don't have that card. And there's a lot of people who have that card who just don't travel a lot outside of the U.S. So everywhere I've went outside the U.S. with Diamond status, I am treated like a king, and I'm upgraded to a great room. And so that's really good. Of course, the card is $550 a year, so it's got a high fee, but you get the $200 resort credit twice a year. That's the one that makes me like, do I go down to the Surpass or not? Because I lost out on a $200 credit last year because I just couldn't find a way to use it. And I know I can, like, call the hotel and try to prepay directly with the hotel. I'm going to try to do that this year. But that's a tough credit to use. I mean, if you don't live anywhere near one where you can't just do a staycation at a Hilton resort, and that's the situation I'm in. So that one, you also get the free night certificate, which more than pays for the card. but still it just irks me about not being able to get my full $400 on that travel credit as far as the resorts go. So if anybody has any ideas on that, let me know. But that's the one that I'm wrestling with. City Prestige card, I've already talked about that. I'm going to keep it. Venture X card. The Venture X card, I think we're going to keep. We don't use it all that much, although we do some. We like the lounge access. It's not hard to get your value from it. I mean, we more than get our value from it every year because we use that credit or that discount, I guess, in the portal. But for $300, and then you get the 10,000 extra points. But I think the biggest reason I won't ever cancel that one is because I just would never be able to get it again. I've even heard people talk about downgrading and then they don't have the ability to upgrade back. So not going to get rid of that. But then the American Express Gold Card. Here's the one that just really I wrestle with because I get more than my money back on it. I mean, I use the Uber credit or Uber Eats. Every single time I always use the dining credit or Grubhub. So I get all that back. So that's the $240 a year. And then I use the Dunkin'. There's a Dunkin' across the street from where I work. So I go through there and give me a breakfast sandwich at least once a month. And I use the Resi $100 a year. In fact, just used it last night at a nice restaurant for my wife and I. I mean, it's easy to get my value back. Here's the problem though. I have nothing to spend with that card on. Nothing. I mean, I can go to dining and get 4X, but I get 5X on my City Prestige. And then on grocery, we shop at Walmart, so it doesn't work there. So the card, I get way more value than I'm using, but I got to go to some effort to do it. And I just don't have anything to spend anything on with that card. So I don't know. I think this is part of the game when you get far into it, is that you got so many cards that earn in so many categories. Sometimes it's hard to justify. And then the last one is the American Express Business Gold. I just recently got that one, just hit the sign up bonus on it. And it's really a unique card because it's got those 4X categories that you get 2 of them a month, the ones that you spend the most on. And I got a while before I'll have to choose, but I'm wrestling with it because I'm not sure again. I mean, gas, that would be great. 4X on gas. Well, I got City Custom Cash. I mean, I get 5X on gas. So it's plus the bonus from the Rewards Plus. So I'm really wrestling with it. However, it does have like phone services and things. So I'm going to fiddle with it a little bit. So, all right. Well, that's pretty much what I had for today. Unless anybody has any last comments or thoughts, I appreciate everybody tuning in here all the way to the end. There's still 10 here and we have 10 likes. So thank you everybody for tuning into my live today. Shout out to several of you. Had a channel member in here, Matt Clausen. He's got a great YouTube channel and he also does some collaboration with Lonnie and some others. And so check that out. Just appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. Thank you for liking. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I'm marching my way towards 1,000. That's kind of the holy grail for YouTube creators. So I appreciate it. Spathco says, appreciate the perspective. Always interesting to see how different people approach the game. Yeah, there's not a right way and a wrong way. There's just, trying to make the game fit our lifestyle and what our desires are, which is, I think, why it's helpful to be a part of a community where you get a lot of different voices and a lot of different approaches. So I appreciate that. All right. Thanks a lot. Don't forget to like, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And hopefully we'll see you here next time. Thanks.